So you want to build your booty. There will be trials and tribulations on this journey to your best booty ever. There will be some weight gain. You will have to jump up and down in your pants to get them on. A little bit of a nuisance. And after those amazing days that you are super sore, instead of sitting down on the toilet, you will just fall because you can't hold yourself up anymore. But will it be worth it? Oh, hell yeah. So today I'm going to talk to you guys through tips that I have for building that booty. These are tips that I've used throughout my fitness journey. One interesting thing about me, in the beginning of my fitness journey, before I really even worked any sort of glutes, I was just doing tennis, and I actually did baseball for a little bit growing up. Thanks, Dad. I didn't ever work my glute muscles or hardly any really isolated muscles. So I had what they called gluteal amnesia. Gluteal, however you say that. Gluteal amnesia. I would try to flex each one of my glutes and I just couldn't do it. I didn't have that mind to muscle connection that you had to have to flex your glutes, and I just didn't have it. I had amnesia in my glutes. Really, the only way that you can fix that is by isolating those muscles and just working them until you finally get that mind to muscle connection, which I did. So if I can do it, you guys can do it. So the first tip that I have for you guys is that you have to be in a caloric surplus in order to build your booty. I know that's kind of sad because you are going to gain a little bit of weight when you're gaining muscle, but that's just how it has to be. If you're not getting enough calories, if you're in a deficit, then you're just not going to build muscle. And you can always go into like a mini cut during your journey if you think that you've gained like a little bit too much and you just want to feel happier, right? Because really, like, the main goal is just to feel happy and content with how you look and what you want. But remember that when you go through these cuts, you are going to lose some muscle too. So that harder muscle that you've been doing all those hip thrusters for, and you've been sweating your ass off in the gym for, and falling down on toilets for because you can't hold yourself up, you're going to lose a little bit of that every time you do a cut. And there are ways to combat this by increasing your protein intake when you're cutting, when you're in a caloric deficit, by continuing to lift heavy weights even when it's hard and you don't have those calories that you used to have when you were building your muscles. But that can be a whole nother video to talk about that. But basically, you need to be in a caloric surplus. For my second tip, kind of building off of my first tip, is that you have to lift heavy weights. Lift those heavy weights, girl. You need to get to about your 1 rep max. Like, you need to get super close to that. Of course, without hurting yourself. You don't want to hurt yourself in the process. So, have someone there to help you if you need help, but just lift heavy. I've been lifting religiously for about 5 years. And there would be people that I would see coming into the gym a lot, and then I knew that their goal was to gain muscle and to get bigger. They'd kind of mentioned it to me in passing a couple times, but they were only ever lifting light weights, and I just never really saw that change in them because they never lifted the heavy weight that they needed to. You think of Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? He didn't get that big just from, lifting little 5-pounders, or squatting like 10 pounds. No, he was lifting heavy weights, and because of that, he got really big. My next tip is that hip thrusters are absolute key to glutes, to building your glutes. I didn't see as much transformation in my glutes as when I had started incorporating the hip thrusters. They just isolate your glutes so much. I've never felt such a pump in my glutes than after I've done a hip thruster set, especially with volume. But it's a wonderful pump. You'll be looking at yourself in the mirror and like, this is what my glutes are gonna look like without a pump eventually. What I would recommend with hip thrusters is to find your 1 rep max, right? Because we want to lift heavy to get the biggest muscles that we can get in our glutes. So the way you're gonna do this is to just start out, throw on some weight that you're comfortable with. And just so you know, you're gonna be able to lift more weight on hip thrusters than you think. I mean, don't quote me on that, but usually like 9 times out of 10, all the people that I've helped with hip thrusters, they thought they could do less than they actually could. So start out with something you're comfortable with and just do as many reps as you can. Just rep it out until you can't rep it out anymore. And then throw on some weight. Let's say you did 135 for hip thrusters and you did that 20 times. Throw on more weight, girl. You can do more weight. We are trying to find that 1 rep max. So throw on more weight until you're doing 5 and it's pretty heavy. And then you do 3 super heavy. And let's say you do 2 and you're like, oh, I can barely do 2. Well, then you kind of know where around your 1 rep max is, right? So you're good to go. So now you have a solid foundation with the hip thrusters. One thing I like to do is work up to a heavy weight first when I'm doing hip thrusters, because then when you take off that weight, let's say you've worked up to 300 pounds plus and you did your 2 reps and you know you're dead and you do that twice, right? And then you go back down to 135, that's gonna feel like a piece of cake. Then do your reps, you'll feel that pump, and it'll be a great workout. Also, always be sure to mix up your exercises and try to confuse your body, because our bodies are the masters of getting used to things, and that can work against us a lot of the times, especially in the gym. So confusing it is always just gonna push your body to get better, and you're gonna build your glutes that much faster. So switch it up. For my 4th tip, I just want you guys to know that great things take time. And building great glutes is going to take time. It might not take a couple weeks, it might not take a couple months, it's probably gonna take multiple months. And it's different with, you know, each person's body. One person might build glute muscles in a second, right? And somebody else, it might take a while. I sadly am one of those people where it takes a while.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
But it's okay, consistency is key. And when you're that person that's consistent, you're going to see that growth, trust me. And one way to keep yourself motivated as you're going through this process is to take progress pictures. I had no idea how far I'd gone until I took a picture that I'd taken 7 months into my journey and compared it to a picture that I took at the beginning and saw the insane difference. The picture that I used for the thumbnail of this video, I don't know the time difference. Maybe I'll be able to find it and put it like right here, the time difference between the photos. It took a while, right? And just seeing that difference is just such motivation and just keeps you moving forward to see like, wow, that's where I started, and I'm gonna keep going, keep pushing myself, and know that, hey, in time, it's gonna get even better. Look how far I came in just a couple months. Even if it was a subtle difference, that's something that's gonna keep you pushing forward and getting that great bootay. For my next tip, it is sadly not leg day every day. And guys, I still struggle with this. I am somebody that builds upper body muscle a lot faster than my lower body muscle. And it's really weird. I'm just like an anomaly with women. I swear I lift 10 pounds one day and the next day my arm muscles are bigger. I swear they grow like half an inch every day after I lift kind of heavy weights with upper body. But with my lower body, it's just not like that. And then that leads to overtraining, actually degrading them because you're not giving them enough time to heal and recover. So make sure that even though you're consistently training, and you should train your glutes maybe at least twice a week if you're trying to build them, but don't do it more. It's not leg day every day. Finally, my final tip is to just not compare yourself to others. And I know that's so hard and something that we've heard so many times over, but it's just so difficult to do, right? But it's true, like we all build muscle differently. We all hold fat differently. Some of us only build a certain amount of muscle in certain areas, and that's just your body. But that doesn't mean that your little booty that you've been working your ass off for, that's nice and lifted, super perky and looks awesome in the gym isn't as nice as the other booty that's just a little bit bigger, or even like a good little bit amount bigger. Still, it's gonna look just as good after all the time and effort that you've put in. When you're going on this journey, you're just focusing on being the best you that you can be. You're not competing with that bitch you see in the gym that you hate, who's doing the, 10 pound squats and has like the massive booty. You don't know. She could have had the Brazilian butt lift, but more power to her. Honestly, thought about it. If I had the money, maybe, but that just goes to show that you never know. You never know why someone looks the way they do, and who cares? You're only competing with yourself and trying to beat the person that you were yesterday, the person that you were a year ago. Because at the end of the day, it's about you and how you look and how you feel. And trust me, I struggle with this too. So you're not alone if you struggle with comparing yourself to others. But don't worry, after following all these tips and making sure you're lifting heavy, eating in a surplus, ignoring the scale on occasion because it might scare you as you're gaining that booty weight, doing your hip thrusters, giving yourself time to grow, giving your glutes the adequate rest that it needs, and taking those progress photos, you will become the best version of you when it comes to your glutes. And you will be looking amazing. Your glutes will look amazing. And you will be amazed at how much your body can change when you just give it that extra love and you just follow the right plan that you need. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you use these tips and create the glutes of your dreams. And I can't wait to hear feedback from it, and maybe put in a comment after you've been working out your glutes for a few months and tell me how they worked for you. Love you guys.